billion US dollar investment. But at the same time, when I calculated, just giving a very rough figure to the sand and rock material, it came to the figure like 4.2 billion US dollar for the sand and rock material. We don't get the equity for that one. So we have an economic issue there. The problem is now, when you look at from the outside, well, even I had this discussion in last March at the Asian Development Bank, and everybody thinks that the Sri Lankan EIA system is a very good one. Yes, of course. I mean, on paper, it is a good one. It is almost like a blueprint of some of the Western countries, but enforcement is a problem. And for the people inside the country, it is one of the most corrupted systems. I think starting 2005 become very highly corrupted. And you can pay for these academics to prepare the EIAs, and they will write all the most of the impacts, but then start, however, then you write how you can mitigate. And they never study the alternatives. And sometimes the officials rewrite the EIAs and then give the approval. And also, it doesn't ensure that, I mean, there's no public opinion coming, and there was no oral public hearing, but public commenting period is there. For the initial environmental examination, there's no public commenting period. And also the politician always manipulates this system. So when it comes to the accountability, I think there's one of the Asian Development Bank funded project, which is called Southern Transport Development Project. And there was a lot of controversy at the national level. But then we were able to complain to the accountability mechanism, and there we got a lot of issues resolved, although it is not totally resolved. But that was one of the time that people can claim that, okay, they achieve some sort of a justice. But there are many other projects came since then, but nobody complained, and we don't know how to complain with certain related to certain financial agencies. And then sometimes, in number of cases, we have gone to the court, but unfortunately, it was not possible. So especially we don't know how to file some of those actions in the private funding, Exim banks. So those are some of the issues we have. Now, when we think about the ADB, I think we may have some concerns about the ADB development model, and we think maybe we should have a different development paradigm. We think that it's not the private sector to come and give the whole development and making profits. We think much more and more public sector projects should be there. But undoubtedly, the environmental and social safeguard system, what the ADB has, it's a good one. And there's an accountability mechanism also. The ADB safeguard system already says ADB is committed to supporting and strengthening effective application of the DMC's country safeguard system. Now, this is where we have the problem. Now, Titi mentioned about this equivalency issue. So we have a very good system, we have very good laws, but when it comes to the implementation, it is not there. So that is our concern. Basically, I just want to share the comparison. In our system, we don't know who decides whether it's a EIA or IE. There's no transparent guidelines. But ADB at least have the A, B, C categories and the financial integrity. And we have 30 days public commenting period for the EIAs, but IEs, no public commenting period. ADB, 120 days for the summary EIAs. And then the public hearing not mandatory, never had public hearing last 15 years in Sri Lanka. I think maybe the Southern Transport Development Project was the last time we had a public hearing in Sri Lanka. No indigenous people's policy, although we have the indigenous people living in the forest. No resettlement impact assessment in Sri Lanka. If it is funded by the ADB, yes, there is one. but the environmental management plans are there. No access to information law. I think maybe the whole South Asia, Sri Lanka is the only country doesn't have the access to information law. Grievance mechanism are not effective. After the STDP, Southern Transport Development Project, there was a good committee called LAB committee, and after that it didn't happen. And most of the time justice delayed. At least in the ADB accountability mechanism, there's a time guarantee. So now I'm thinking in the last several years, I've been thinking that whether the EIA is the right document for us, whether the EIA is real, the process is the real system for us to decide this the development is right, because there are a lot of inadequacies in all the EIAs, and the process corruption is part of that, but the documents itself doesn't bring the adequate information. Recently I attended one of the meeting. It was a more than 100-page EIA, but the EIA team has visited 2 days to the site. It is going to destroy beautiful waterfall for a 1.5 megawatt mini hydro project. So, but this is the quality of the EIA. So then the second question I have is all these are market-driven economy, but we have the planet limits. So I think we have to change into the environmental-driven economy. So unless we will have the problems. So the final comments, I think the environmental and social safeguards is one of the best in Sri Lanka, but the enforcement is a problem, and it has no benefits to the local people. And also, not benefit. I mean, at least you have some opportunity, but it doesn't give the right information, right benefits to the local people. And in that context, I think we have doubt about bringing the countryside down the whole EIA system, and you have to improve the capacity building is not going to bring, because the capacity building doesn't going to save us from the corrupted EIA system. Then you have to change the system. So change the system, change the EIA system, then only bring the social safeguard, then only you can have the country system. Otherwise, so we will not be doing any justice to the whole social and environmental safeguard. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Hemanta. That was a very powerful presentation, and that table pretty much encapsulates the debate which we are in this panel. Is our country systems good enough to ensure social and environmental safeguarding? Now, I have a few points to share with you in terms of what I've listened so far. It's clearly obvious the borrowing countries are resonating the message of corruption. It's happening in different agencies and departments where ADB is pushing its loans through. There is a lack of critical voice. Either meaningful consultations are not taking place, or repressive regimes are not allowing civil society to break through the shackles and critique the projects and bring in the right debates and arguments to the design phase of the project. The third issue is definitely that by pushing for country systems, it seems ADB is giving the signal to borrowing governments that they're a very lucrative lender with less requirements. Considering the development finance landscape in Asia and the rise of the new development finance instruments, this is what we are also perceiving to be a reality of market economics. Saying that, I'm going to open the floor for a few questions. We've got a bit of time, so a show of hands would be good before I go off to Nasim for some reactions. I see Suparna, two, Dr. Yu. All right, let's start with Suparna.
This is Suparna from NGO Forum. Mr. Nasim Ahmed will recall that in 2003-4-5, ADB along with World Bank had supported India's preparation of environmental policy and strengthening environmental regulations. And that came into as EIA no notification to 2006, which was actually quite much better than what was there around the 90s. So like 10 years now, after 10 years, what we see that, I don't know if you have seen it, a couple of weeks back, our minister in charge was reported in the media to say that to bring down the clearance period drastically, the EIAs have to be submitted by 60 days. Now, he was not properly informed that according to his own ministry's guideline, the EIA has to be at least prepared throughout a year and or 2 seasons. You cannot just prepare the EIA for within 60 days. So it's basically this whole driving force of easing business, into the countries is actually not improving the country's systems. It is actually the country's systems that their standards are going down in the name of ease of business. And it is not only India, it's all around. So how do you see when you are talking of strengthening of country systems at this point, at the same time, the context of ease of doing business is regularly being driving every day into the heads of the government?
Thank you, Suparna. Ma'am, would you kindly introduce yourself?
Good afternoon. I'm Elvira Ablasa from Primex, Philippines. Primex is a consulting firm. I have a brief question to Nazim Ahmad. He mentioned earlier that ADB has been beefing up its safeguards, fielding its safeguards specialists to the country missions, and has apparently recruited a lot more safeguard specialists to help the government agents on this safeguard environment. But Nazim also mentioned that consultants seem to be the weak link. Because I come from the consulting industry, and I myself am an environment specialist, I just wonder whether ADB is planning to have some programs for consultants so that the understanding of environmental and social safeguards would be similar across the board. Because our experience as a firm is that when we work with government agencies, we help them prepare the IEE or the resettlement framework, etc. But the review of those documents usually goes to ADB, right? And it depends on who in ADB reviews the documents. Yes. So there's a variation. Yes. Like somebody could say that, this project is category C, and then you prepare prepare the project, implement the PPTA, and then when you're just close to the submission of the draft final report, somebody says, where's the IEE report? And we say, IEE report, but this is category C, So, the question is, going back to the question, is ADB planning to have at least a series of seminars or orientations for consulting firms? Because it's very true that we help governments, but the understanding or the application of the safeguards might vary across sectors and across different agencies and countries. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was an excellent point. It was very insightful. All this time, and I have a very biased position, being from NGO firm on ADB, I thought the consultants of the ADB working on safeguards were probably not doing their job properly, but it seems that the safeguard specialists within the ADB machinery who review the various reports are very special indeed. Anyway, Dr. Yu, if you would kindly.
My question also to the ADB official. I want to know that because you just made of the new safeguard policy, and how many or how much percentage of the using your new safeguard policy successful or satisfied the community people. If this percentage is quite low, and how you think if you put this into the country system, and when you make the decision for country to apply the country system, how much percentage that you evaluate or you assess successful? Is 50% real successful or 20% of successful? If they're very low, and why you immediately jumped to the country system? And also, I want to know that I heard World Bank already have co-financing agreement with IIB, and IDB also have this this kind of we'll have this agreement with IIB that will use the IDB safeguard policy. I also want to know. Thank you.
Naseem, just a process thing. That's 3 questions. Do you want me to take one from Stephanie and get back to you for responses, or do you want to go ahead first?
From Stephanie, let's delay Stephanie. All right, Stephanie.
Okay, so yeah.
All right. No, I think there's one thing I'd like to clarify first off, and that is it's the Independent Evaluation Department that made the recommendation that ADB should be much more aggressive in using country safety systems. The ID, that recommendation. Our position had always been that we need to strengthen country safeguard systems so that over time they would converge with international best practice. And at the time at which they did converge with international best practice, as shown by the equivalence assessments of capacity. And since our policy was adopted, we haven't gone to our board with any request to use country safeguard systems, because we wouldn't unless we felt that the country safeguard system was robust enough to deliver on our safeguard objectives. But ID, our Independent Evaluation Department, made a recommendation that we should be moving this agenda much more forward, not just on the strengthening, but also on the use. And I suppose that reflects a general trend across other banks, where they are looking at ways in which they might put a little bit more emphasis on country safeguard systems. I think the strengthening of country safeguard systems is a very important agenda, personally, because LDB financing is a very small part of the overall equation. So we'd better get country safeguard, help countries develop their systems so that all projects, regardless of financing, are meeting higher standards. And our colleagues in their presentations, I think, made it abundantly clear that there's still a long way to go in terms of country safeguard systems. And my plea would be for all of us to work together to help countries strengthen those systems, because it would be for the benefit of the environment and for people. In the case of India, I recall back in the early 2002, 2003, the environment policy was a nice one. It was patterned a little bit after ADB's, in fact. Personally, I think it's a good idea if the policies converge upwards, not that they get dismantled. That's my own personal opinion. I think one should work and conduct dialogue with key decision makers and policy makers so that they recognize the importance of safeguards, and that we see a movement upwards and not a movement downwards. And here I'm being general. On consultants, and I think I struck a raw chord with my good friend. Yes, all capacity development is required by everyone. There's absolutely no question. That's why we're focusing training on several sets of targets. Our own staff, of course, government and borrowers and the private sector, and consulting. And so on the consulting front, there's a wide range of capacities. Some are very much on the forefront, others are still catching up. And increasingly over time, we'd like to see a very strong consulting industry grow up within the region and within countries where it doesn't exist. And so that's why we are focusing attention on providing training to consultants. And the learning centers that I mentioned earlier in Philippines and Vietnam, and the ones we're starting up in Indonesia, Myanmar, elsewhere, are also providing training to consultants so that they're all on the same page in terms of their understanding of what the requirements are and don't get bewildered by what they see as quirky decision making when in fact it's simply application by ADB staff of the requirements in a uniform way. On the last point, yes, so as I said, we haven't been using country safeguard systems yet. In terms of success rate, in terms of the number of complaints, I'd say one thing under the new policy, there has been only one complaint that has gone to the accountability mechanism since 2012. So in other words, if you look at our overall active portfolio of 700 projects or 120 projects going to the board every year, over the last 10 years, 9 or 10 projects have gone to the compliance review based on complaints. So that's one measure. That's a very small proportion of our total number of projects that are going to compliance review. I know that you have other interpretations.
Yes.
I personally like this interpretation. In fact, not many cases going to the accountability mechanism tells me that that there are less complaints coming than otherwise would be the case if we were doing a bad job. When it comes to the AIIB co-financing, the way my understanding of that is that our policies would prevail because certainly in the near term, AIIB would be jointly co-financing with ADB. The agreement is that ADB's policies would be the ones that would be used. Thank you.
Stephanie?
Thank you for this opportunity. I have two questions, and I want to preface this by saying that I think most of the panelists and many of the members of the NGO Forum have spent their active lifetimes trying to improve country systems, doing analytics and attorneys work to improve country systems. So it's not as if people are against country systems. So I have one factual question for you, which is the answer to. When the IFC takes an equity position, purchases equity, contributes equity to a financial intermediary, say in 2009, as the IFC's performance standards change, if the IFC still holds that equity position in 2016, their new performance standards apply. How does the ADB do this? When the ADB takes an equity position in 2009, it's now 2016, so do the SPS requirements apply? And I'm asking this specifically because the ADB holds equity positions in, for example, financial intermediaries for infrastructure, the Indonesian Infrastructure Fund. And the question is shouldn't, the IFC is telling us that their safeguards apply to this fund, their current ones, and so the question is, we assume the ADB does the same thing, but we'd really like to hear if that's the case. My second question relates to their statement that in Southeast Asia, all of the safeguard specialists were being moved to a regional office. And one of the things that we've seen when that happens with other financial institutions is linked to this country systems discussions. We see that there is often state capture of local MPB offices, meaning that that when you have a lack of independence of your safeguard specialists who are housed locally, they have their individual relationships with the local Ministry of Finance, with other governmental officials. They're often, they have their visa problems, they're often really reluctant to truly identify safeguards issues, the environmental, social, and human rights issues. And so there's a lot of concern, we've seen this playing out in other institutions, about a lack of oversight and a lack of people coming in from outside who do not have these relationships or visa or other links. And on the consulting issue, I mean, one of the things that's a little bit alarming is to hear that the consultants are there to help the government. It's good to help the government, but frankly, a lot of the CSS issues are having to do with what the governments do to their local population in terms of the way they're not implementing the consultation. So if the general description of what a consultant's role is to simply help that government, if it's not also to help flag the issues that our panelists have flagged in terms of the weaknesses of country systems, that's quite problematic. Thank you.
Nassim?
Yeah.
The specific question of the equity, I'm also interested to hear your response on that.
Sure. Thank you very much, Stephanie. On the issue of equity, let's say the hypothetical that you put forward of IFC injecting equity into a financial intermediary, ADB doing so in 2009. That would be before the SBS became effective. That was at the time of the previous ones. And so the loan agreements will reflect the policy situation at the time these investments were approved. If IFC were then to update the FI's environment and social management system later on, that would probably only be possible if IFC were putting another injection of capital into the FI, because that would then give leverage to have a dialogue on what the management system should include.
As of 2 weeks ago, the CAO declared very clearly that the IFC it has to apply the latest safeguards within the current performance standards because it still has equity. So in 2016, the IFC has, say, a 19% share of this thing, and therefore the current 2016 policies apply, and that it's a case that can be, if they're violated, the current safeguard policies are violated, it's a case that can be taken to the CAO. So they very clearly stated that it's policy that because they currently have that equity in there, that their current safeguards apply. So the question is we're hoping it's the same thing for the ADB. It's a similar parallel structure. And they're both in the same initiative.
Well, we can argue about the facts, but my understanding from IFC is that there was another, now that we're getting specific, another equity injection at around 2012, which allowed them then to reopen the discussion on the environmental social management system. In the absence of that, they wouldn't have had any leverage to do anything. So that's my understanding of that.
Any thoughts from the panelists? Because we've got about roughly 3-4 minutes left. So any last thoughts?
I think in my understanding, Nassim is clear that they're not pushing for country systems at the moment, but the IED is already suggesting that. I think maybe, it's good that we don't rush, but I think at the end, probably because there are diverse financial agencies are coming anyway, the countries will be willing to go there. So, but we have to be very careful, and we have to have the safeguards for the country systems as well. Not only to harmonizing the different policies and regulations, but at the same time you have to make sure that the people enforce it, and at the same time, if nothing is happened, so there should be a place for the people to complain. So if you set the whole system there, so that can be considered as a country system. But if you just harmonize the safeguard policies, it is not going to work. So I hope that may be the way that the ADB is considering this.
So I just want to iterate that important for people who will be affected by projects is actually the best protection for their interest and livelihood. That's what the financials have to look at. But the concerns right now, whether the good standards that already existing are implemented as the standards are required. So it is also another issue for the good standard related to gender considerations in the SPS, for example. There's still a big question mark whether it is properly applied and implemented.
Thank you very much. I agree with my
Thank you. Well, in this entire debate that we had for an hour and a half, it was very insightful, especially the intervention from our private sector consultants. It opened my eyes on a whole level of inquiry which we can take on once we get back in Manila, especially on the equity and the financial intermediary safeguard policy application. That's on the policy front. On the issue of country systems, I like my country and I like its systems. They're not the best. We've got a very good country system. It's called the court. And they have the better laws there. It would be really great when affected communities could file a legal case against the ADB for crimes against humanity and the environment. But unfortunately, we can't do that because the ADB enjoys immunity from our constitution. So as long as the state of play is beyond our access, we have to trust Mr. Ding Ding Tang and his team to take on the accountability through the CRP, and this goes on. But I don't think this stays on forever. So in the meantime, let's keep on working on country systems, and we hope ADB takes its due diligence on safeguards on the ground. Thank you all, and I wish you the best for the next few days. I'd like to thank all my panelists, and especially Naseem, for being generous and honest as usual, and we look forward to engaging more in Manila. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.